everywhere using a database in almost all the fields. That is a database. In general, it is a collection of related data. In business, we are using it to store for customers' details, products and purchase information in the form of sales for different products. Everything was stored on paper in the form of accounts, ledgers, so many books. So nowadays, everything is in the form of memory unit or secondary memory usage. Dear students, welcome to CS classes. I am Ravi Kumar KR, lecturer in computer science, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Students, let us start our discussion with the concept Introduction to Database Management. In this session, we are going to learn Introduction to Database, database terms, and database management system. These are the topics to be covered in this session. Let us start with the definition of what is a database. Database is a collection of logically related data organized in a way that data can be easily accessed, managed and updated. So nowadays the word database is familiar to everyone. So everywhere we are using so many database software. For example, nowadays if you go to any of the provision store or medical store, you will get a computerized bill. That is they will be using a database. That is one application of a database system. And nowadays, if you want to reserve any of the air ticket, bus ticket and train ticket, it is again an application of database. They will be using database software or database application for their purpose. So nowadays we are using database in almost all the fields. So but what is a database? Database is nothing but it is a collection of related data. It is a collection of data and all these are logically related to each other, and it's organized in a way that data can be easily accessed, managed and updated. And we are storing the data in a database so that it should be easily accessed by the user, and it can be easily managed and it has to be easily updated. Even if we talk about a college, we have a college database system. So everywhere using a database in almost all the fields. That is a database. In general, it is a collection of related data and it should be easily accessed, managed and updated. Now let us see the next one. Now, what are all the applications of database? That's what I was talking about. So we are using the database in different fields. Now let us see the different fields of or applications of database in use. First one is banking. In the banking, for customer information, accounts and loans and banking transaction. Now nowadays you know that everything is computerized banking, and when you talk about around few years back, and all the data in a bank were stored in ledgers in the form of book or in the form of big ledgers. Nowadays, everything are maintained through computers. That is one of the applications. But in the banking system, they'll be using a software. There's a database software, and they will store the details of the customer information and accounts details, and as well as different activities of a bank, just like a loan and so on. And they're going to store banking transactions in a database. If I say transaction, any account holder can do transaction daily basis or as per his requirements. That is, deposit is one transaction, withdrawal, transferring of funds. All these are example for different transaction, and all these are recorded in a database. That is application in the field of banking. Next one is water meter billing, and nowadays we are using electricity bill also. So what is water? And you know that in water meter billing system, all the details of the customers are stored in a database software, and with respect to RR number or meter number or their address, and all the details are stored in a database, and with the help of that they are going to get you that is a water bill regularly, very frequently, with the help of the database. And the one who comes at your doorstep for water meter reading, and even for KB meter reading, he will record today's or at the time the reading of the meter, and he will calculate with the help of the database. He will calculate and he will generate a bill for you. That is another application of database. Next one is rail and airlines, and here we are using this database for reservation of system and schedule information. Now, if we talk about railing or train reservation, now train reservation is a one centralized database. So anywhere in from different locations, we can reserve a ticket or train ticket, or we can search for different train, all the details of a train and their schedule or department details, everything with the help of that centralized database system. And not only for train, even for air tickets, as even for our bus ticket, it can be reserved and data is maintained through a database. This is another application of database. Next application is credit card transaction. Now, as we have seen in the previous slide, we are using a computers, or it's a computerized branch in computerized banking. So one of the application is credit card transaction. Now, all of you know what is a credit card and debit cards, and all the whatever the transaction you do with debit card or credit card, all the transaction will be recorded in a database stored in we using in banking sector. So this is another application of database system. Telecommunication. What is telecommunication? For keeping records of calls made, generating monthly bills, etc. So with respect to telephone recording, or even take nowadays with the mobile banking also, everywhere we are using computers and everything is computerized. So based on this, they will use a database software and they will keep track of all the records of calls, and they are going to maintain the customer's details and your telephone numbers or your landline numbers or your broadband details, everything they will be in one database, and based on the all the usage will be recorded in the database. And how normally we get a bill even in mobile system, similar to that. So all the data they will keep track of the call records, everything through computers in the form of database. This is another application of database. Next one is in finance, in the field of finance. So here for storing information about the sales and purchases of instruments such as stocks and bond. See, in the field of financial, this is another applications in financial applications where we are using this computer or a database to store the details of the sales and purchases, and as well as stocks and bonds. Next, we move on to the next slide. Next one is in the sales. In business, we are using it to store for customers' details, products, and purchase information in the form of sales for different products. Next one is in manufacturing unit. So in a factory or in any organization, so or in the manufacturing sector, they're using it for management of supply chain and for tracking production, investment, stores, and order of items, or even for raw materials. So we in the production department or in manufacturing sector, they do make use of this database software to find or to store the different details of the data or their applications. Next one is in human resource, that is HRD, and here in HRD of any organization, they will store all the details of their employees in a database and all the details. So all these are maintained through database. The information about the employee and the recruitment details and salaries, payroll, etc. So all the information of an employee are stored in a database. That is another application. Next one is, 10th one is colleges or in the field of education. So nowadays we are using database in almost all schools and colleges to maintain student database. There we are going to store or have the details of a student, their academic records, for example attendance and so on. There we are using database. So this is another application of database. Now let us see the evolution of database, means how it is evolved from previous version to or old to new system of database. So in earlier it is manual data processing. So in olden days when there were no computers in use, means I mean, we are using computers nowadays. So then everything we are using, it is computerized. But before the era of computers, everything was manual operation. So that is manual data processing. Now let us see the difference between these two systems. So manual data processing. So here the volume of the data which can process is limited in desirable time. So because it is a manual. Now if you compare this, volume of data which can process can be very large. So what is the meaning of this? So everything was manual. So to process the large amount of data in olden days, and it was through manual, so the processing, it takes a very long time and it is very slow, and within the limited time they could not complete the processing. This was under manual data processing. But nowadays we are using computers, as we have seen, the computers, the characteristics, everything. So the process data is very large. That means, so we can process large amount of data within short period of time. That is the advantage of computerized database system or electronic database system. Next one is, it requires large quantity of paper and it is less amount of paper. Now, as I told you in the previous slide, so earlier everything was on paper and there was no computers, there was no memory devices, so on. Everything was stored on paper in the form of accounts, ledgers, so many books. So nowadays, it's everything is in the form of memory unit or secondary memory usage. So the usage of paper has been reduced. This is under computerized or electronic database or processing. Next one is, labor cost is high because everything was manual. So all the work or processing should take place through manual or with the help of labor. It is very high. But here it is economical. Nowadays we are using computer for all the data processing work, it is economical as compared to labor work. Next one is, storage medium is paper. Yes, nowadays we are using storage medium as secondary memory devices. As you know, it is maybe hard disk or a floppy disk or optical disk and flash drive, so on. That is a storage medium. And it maintaining backup is difficult. So what is a backup? Backup is nothing but to store the day-to-day activities on some other location for the future. But here everything was on the paper. It was very difficult because, as we know, that if we keep any data on the paper or any sheet of data on the paper, if we keep it for a long time, so it will be destroyed, or we are not able to make use of it effectively. But this problem can be solved using this electronic data processing system. It is very easy. Students, in this session, we have discussed about the introduction to database system and their application. So in our next session, we are going to discuss about the database terms, DBMS, and features of DBMS and database users. Thank you very much.